Can anyone hear us? Just let me know. Yes? No? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Good morning. So you all are in for a special treat today. So happy Friday, everybody. So everyone put something good. Let's start this meeting off with some goodness. Drop in the chat something good that's happened to you in your business or personal life. Heck, it could even be I woke up today and I'm still alive. So let's see what you all got. Hi, Javanka. I can share this with you. One of my biggest fears in this whole Zoom era, ooh, two closes, is I see people driving in their car and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't ever want to see a Zoom crash. I see people like hitting the buttons. Stephen Morgan, nice to see you here today. All right, so what do we got? Chris has two closings today. All right, so all of you woke up on the right side of the dirt and you still haven't said anything. This worries me. Here we go. Two accepted offers, one buyer paying my commission. Great job. Walking away from the past, and I made a long time breakthrough this morning for more letting go. That is the win of all wins, right? Where you can just wake up and choose yourself. All right, so we just let a group of people in and we are about to get started. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your featured presentation and another episode of Real Time Coaching Lab. I have a dear friend of mine who I've known for the past 5 years. His fun fact is when I met him, he's like, I don't want this to sound awkward, but did your parents own a stationery store in Larchmont? And so Charlie Turt sitting here next to me used to buy all his school supplies from my parents' stationery store. My parents still remember him to this day because of how polite he was. So Charlie worked on the growth team at Compass previously for 5 years. So he knows our business. He knows how we work. Heck, some of you might have even been recruited here by him. So you don't know. And it was maybe what, like 3, 4 weeks ago at this point? So 3, 4 weeks ago, I saw an interesting post on his Instagram about virtual assistants. We all have those friends in life that if they do research, it's as good as doing it yourself, right? So Charlie's very methodical, systems and operational oriented. And any of you that are my clients here, Sherry, Javanka, have probably heard me before say, I do not believe in hiring overseas people for your business. But since he did it, I was curious. And as far as I knew, he was in Florida. So we're talking on the phone, we're setting up a meeting, and I mentioned I was getting my hair cut. He asked me where, I told him where, and then he told me that he was in Norwalk and that he was one town over. So I was like, great, come to my office. So I shared my point of view that I don't believe in this. It generally doesn't go well and it's a horrible idea. And he said, give me 30 minutes. And I said, all right, fine. So he sat down for 15 minutes, asked me a series of questions. And he kind of like shrugged me in the sense of like, this is what I said. And then he's like, well, this is what you really want. Now he's like, you got to wait another 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, he had a full job description that synthesized everything that I wanted. And we've successfully hired our first virtual assistant through him, right? And so, what I found was the added benefit where I think the gap for most of us is, look, if you're a great salesperson, you're terrible at hiring people generally, right? Like what we think we want and getting perspective on what we actually want is the biggest gap, right? And then finding companies that have real support, real training, real KPIs, and can help find the right people is the other gap. So today we're going to use myself as a case study and kind of break down some of these myths and stuff. So Charlie, give them a brief introduction to yourself and what you're doing today.
It's very nice to meet all of you. As Chirag said, my name is Charlie. So right now, in addition to working on the virtual assistant side of the business, I currently have a podcast, which I started about a year and a half ago, which is focused on resilience and working through things in our life. So for me, it was some things that happened in childhood. For other conversations, it was a grief counselor turned medium. It is someone who is in recovery. The entire premise of the podcast is we all go through things in life, and it's often the more that we talk about it, the more that we share, it actually connects us more rather than holding the shame. That's sort of one side of the business where I say it's the one to many. And then it is the one-on-one where I do life coaching and personal coaching, whether it's for building a business or personal coaching, really focused on owning your story, figuring out what that North Star is. And it can be anything. For me, I want to host the morning show with Kelly Ripa for one morning. Mark Consuelos has to just be traveling to somewhere. I don't care, but that is my ultimate goal. There was a contest when I was 20 and I watched the day that they had the guest on who won the contest and somehow missed all of the other promotion for applying. So hopefully they will do that
I
again.
actually know the news anchor, Craig Melvin for the Today Show.
Mhm.
I see Craig all the time. Him and my son are friends, and we're actually on the beach yesterday. So your dream might be closer than you imagine. So
You have to put it out there. If you don't say those dreams out loud, the things that you want to accomplish that you're too afraid to say to yourself, let alone to say out loud, that is what I focus on in life coaching. And for me, it was being completely overwhelmed with all of the things that I just described to you, doing a build your business course and realizing that I personally needed support. And that's where I went on my own virtual assistant journey.
what made you want to hire a virtual assistant?
So for me, I needed really specific help with video editing and social media management. I went through some health issues and I could not keep up with the podcast episodes and needed support that was very specific to cutting social media clips or scheduling posts, captions, hashtags, and learning about YouTube, which I knew nothing about at the time. That's where I started. I now have 3 virtual assistants going on 4, and I have had them for about 12 weeks now. They are the best partners because they each own a specific pillar, but that's really where the journey started.
So when we started talking, he's like, his thing said, if you don't have a virtual assistant, you are the virtual assistant. I'm like, all right, curiosity, intrigue, and saving time. I'm into all 3 of those things. So we started talking, right? And so I fundamentally told him, I said, well, here's the problem. The language barrier thing with ChatGPT can be changed now, right? So that part can go away. But I'm like, these people turn over a lot. If they are doing well and they work at these companies, they get promoted. Our clients have to start differently. And I think one of you guys all know this. Some of you I know have known me for a while. I will never recommend anything that I don't use, right? So if I can't try it, use it, believe in it, I will never share it with anyone else. Because if it's going to go bad, it might as well go bad in my business before burning my trust and bringing that kind of problems to someone else's life, where most people come to coaching to have a better life and a better business, right? So Charlie, explain to them, and I never thought about this till he brought it up. He's like, do you know how these companies make money? And then I was like, and give them the 2 different models of how they work.
So there's the do-it-yourself model, which comes with a lot of risk. You can go on Fiverr, Upwork, any website you want, where you're going out and you're hiring a specific talent, whether it's website design, social media creation. There's a lot of work on you. You're trusting reviews online. And at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not it works out, you're not building a partnership. And typically it's like a one-time transaction. The second model, which is what I went with first, was the agency model. And I went with an agency that I felt most comfortable with because it was founded by a woman who had moved from the Philippines. Her and her husband started the business. They live here in Ohio. It was more expensive than any other virtual assistant agency that I could find. It was about $25 an hour. And what I found was that they were great at doing tasks, but they were not great at strategy. And I can think of strategy, I can think of all the tasks in the world, but I need someone who's an expert in the business. So I committed for 3 months. I got some work accomplished. But what I found later was that in this agency model, you are hiring the agency. And knowing what I know now, the virtual assistants are moving from agency to agency, and that's how they're increasing what they get paid. They're learning a lot. And a lot of times in those agencies, they are more entry level, which is why they're more task doers, because they haven't had that experience yet. And so when I really started to investigate this, what I realized through learning and education with the company that I partnered with for recruiting is that a lot of times you don't know exactly what the virtual assistants are getting paid. And so you may be paying $25 an hour, but you have no idea whether that virtual assistant is making $1 an hour or $10 an hour. And so between those two models, I wasn't getting the strategy that I needed. And that's where I found this custom recruitment. And the reason I like this is because whatever you are looking for, they go out and specifically recruit, and a lot of times from these agencies. And they're looking for people for whatever specifics you're looking for. As I mentioned before, one of mine was YouTube. So I was interviewing a group of candidates that were specific to YouTube. That's very different than the agency model where you go in and they're like, we can do everything. Well, as we all know, a jack of all trades, masters none. So at the end of the day, you're getting support, but is it the support that your business actually needs? And I found out very quickly and through several $1,000s later that I was getting support that I didn't actually need.
You know, it's interesting. So I'm one of these people, if I find something great, I want to go share it with everybody, right? So it's like, I don't believe that my life only should be the one that gets better. So then I started talking to a bunch of my clients about this, right? And our virtual assistant's actually on here now. And it was funny because she was telling Laura on her team who manages her, obviously they were talking about us on the call, right? And she can still hear us now. And, what we found is a lot of these things, if you go to I think it's like ClearDesk or some of these other ones, they're charging $10 to $15 an hour, right? I see Catherine nodding her head. And for us in the United States, we're like, oh, okay, like cool. Like you can't find anyone to do anything $10 to $15. Like if you have kids that are teenagers, they even want more money, right? Like, and I've shared several different instances where once a virtual assistant felt comfortable with the client, they were only getting paid $1 to $2 an hour. Right. So yeah. And so it's like, yes, there's like a difference of like cost of living and everything else like that. And, that's like, you get what you pay for. Right. So these things are turning over constantly. Like even other companies like Composite, right? It was started by a former Compass employee, right? So they know the tools, the platform, and we have a solution for that as well that we'll tell you in the end. But what we found with them is when the VA did really good, we've had clients have a great virtual assistants for 6 months and then they get promoted. So then they have to start all over again, right? And in reality, the relationship you have is with the company, not the actual person. So explain to them how this model works.
So with this model, they go out and they do the recruiting for you. So the same way any company in the US would go out and recruit for Compass, Amazon, Microsoft, whomever. They go out and do 3 rounds of interviews before you even meet the candidates. The job description is customized to your business. So it can include, for example, for my business, I use Monday. I use Cloud Campaign for my social media. I was focused on video editing for YouTube, podcasts, storytelling. And I put all this in there because I wanted to make sure that the people that were coming to the interviews were going to be A, interested in that type of work, but B, could actually support the business that I'm running. What I found was that within these interviews, because they had been through several rounds of interviews already with the recruiting firm, when I met them, they were incredible candidates. And for me, what was really interesting is that I could see almost immediately the difference in the fact that you're going to hire the virtual assistants as contractors for your business. So it's a W-8, which is equivalent to our W-9 in the US. It's just the international version of a contractor. So you get all the same tax benefits, but they work directly for you. And I hired 3 virtual assistants. So I hired 1 social media strategist and 2 video editors. And they are so invested in the business and what I'm trying to accomplish with it that it feels like they're partners in the business. And where Chirag had mentioned that people get promoted or they leave to go to another company, they're working directly for you. And for me, candidly, I shared that I provided vacation days for them. And every single one of them said, this is the first time I'm being offered vacation. And to me, I could not even imagine that.
Yeah.
And it was actually one of the pivotal moments for me of why I wanted to get more involved in this, because the talent is so incredible. I can share some before and afters that were pretty weak on the stuff that I was creating and how drastically they changed it within 24 hours. But they're the best partners to me. And over the course of the last 12 weeks and hiring them and working with them for social media, I struggle in front of a camera. I can talk to a group of people, I can record a podcast, doesn't bother me. But when I pick up the phone and I have to record on my own, I personally struggle. They sit on the phone with me and do it. And I'm sitting there cursing and frustrated. And they're like, let's do it again, Charlie, because I've explained to them and I've built that relationship of like emotionally why it's difficult for me. And that to me was the fundamental difference is they work directly for me. I am building those long-term relationships with them. And I've explained to them, I'm like, I want to work with you guys. I want you guys to grow in your skill set. I want to partner with you for the long term. And I think that is the fundamental difference in the relationship because that is part of the Filipino culture. A lot of times, the virtual assistants are supporting not just themselves, but their families. They are working and looking to grow within a business, and they don't want to be job hopping. And so I think for me, that was, to Sharag's point, one of the biggest pieces of this is that you have the relationship. So you can set bonuses, you set their pay, you do their reviews, you do their pay increases. They work directly for you. And that's why it's so different than the agency model or sort of like the ad hoc do it yourself for a specific project.
Look, there's also like for me is like there's a personal fulfillment in this, right? Like I think most of the people that we attract, right? People that just only want to make more money, like our community probably would make them sick, right? Because we're always talking about spending more time with your family, doing the things you love, finding fulfillment out of helping other people reach their goals. Essentially, it's what you guys do as agents every day. Look, every person that comes for a job, you know, entrepreneurs sign up for a roller coaster ride. Like you walk in quicksand every single day. But people that want jobs want like that stability, right? And I think, you know, when we start talking about the gap, it's real estate is such a specific niche, right? And I can share this story with all of you. I remember when I started working at Corporate Compass in 2018, right? Quickly, I built a reputation as someone who really knew real estate. So you had people from like McKinsey, Google, you know, Goldman Sachs, these people had no idea about real estate, right? So I would describe them like, look, like in a corporate world, real estate agents to all of you are like people that live on a different planet. You know, you wake up in the morning, from the second you look at your phone, you are of service to anyone else but you, right? Most of you have families, so you go home and you show up for somebody else, right? Time, money, resources are the most important things to all of you. So I would go around and I would meet people all the time. I'd like explain like agent psychology, right? And so like real estate has its own specific niche mindset in the way you support an agent. Now, unlike all the other brokerages in the world, there's actually something people come to Compass for, right? There's technology, there's tools, there's community, there's a platform, all of these things. So we have that second intricacy, right? So what I find is when people need to hire people, they get stuck. They don't know how to let go of things. They don't really know what they need. So they can't write the right job description. They don't even know what to put in a ChatGPT to get the right job description, right? So in the end, whether they know it or not, they're hiring the wrong person. They don't understand how to pay people. They don't understand that even if you put 5 hours to train somebody in a 5-minute task, if you do a 5-minute task 300 times a year, it's 25 hours, right? So if you put 3 hours to save all that time, like it's worth it. So there's so many different little nuances. So, you know, we partnered with Charlie and we have set this up for all of you because the nice part is if he could sit down and take my convoluted brain, which it goes 500 miles an hour, which confuses most people. Like the people that work here refer to the way I talk as talking Sharag. Like you have to understand like a different language because my brain just goes fast. But I'm at heart an agent, right? I got my license when I was 23. I sold real estate for 14 years. It's what I've done the majority of my life. I think like all of you, and his ability to just synthesize all that. He talked to an agent of ours yesterday and she's like, I want this, this, this. He's like, what you're really saying is you need this, this, this. She's like, how do you know it? But that's his gift, right? And so, you know, we want to figure out a way that we think everyone should have a virtual assistant because if, as he said, if you're not having a virtual assistant, you are the assistant. And I have an amazing assistant that you guys all communicate through email with Laura, but part of the reason we hired someone was to help her, right? So she could focus on more of the things that I like her doing for me specifically. There's a whole other role for the virtual assistant here. She's here managing the call and everything else, and she's doing an incredible job. And, she was really happy. It's a nice place to work. You guys are all good people. And all of these relationships just get mismanaged in the beginning, and frustration, lack of expectations, lack of alignment, and not being clear on what you want.
Yeah. I think that is the biggest thing. So I'm going to answer the question in the chat as well as what Chirag just said at the same time. So when I first hired the virtual assistants, in my head, I was like, they're great. They can think outside the box. They have the strategy. It's more than task doing. And I threw everything at them. And it was the biggest mistake. And I will share that you should not do that. So when I took a step back and I started going single task by single task, not only did I build more trust with them, but I was actually able to see what they were capable of from a skill set perspective. And they were capable of everything I thought they'd be capable of from the interview, and then so much more. And so it does take a lot of trust. They're halfway across the world. So candidly, my podcast is a lot about trust issues. There have been things in my life that I will explain that I just don't trust people. It takes a very long time for me to feel comfortable. I would give my virtual assistants my credit card number, not even through LastPass or another password manager, because that's how much trust we have built. From the perspective of tasks and getting them onboarded, there's always going to be the basic functions of tasks. But I figured out very quickly in the interview process of things like pulled up social media and said, give me feedback on this. 5 out of the 6 interviewees said, oh, it's good. We could make some slight adjustments. The person I hired basically tore it apart and said, here are all the things that I would change. Here's why, and here's exactly how I would do it. And I basically said to them, I want to understand not just that my idea could or couldn't work, but how can it be shifted? What do you think? Are we doing research? And so I looked for someone with a more advanced skill level who really understood social media in this case. With social media, I also figured out a company that I love their platform. We'll put the link in the email, but I don't have them. They don't have my passwords. Like they have, Kelly has the password to TikTok because it's a weird aspect of it, but I trusted her with the TikTok algorithm or the TikTok password after a few weeks. But this platform actually posts everything to any platform that you're looking for. It's easy to use. It's super simple. I looked at 15 different platforms, from $200 platforms a month to free platforms, and settled on this one. But I think it's about working smarter. And that's sort of what I bring to the table with this. So not just, hey, I want to hire a social media expert. Well, a lot of times that is a piece of it, but you also are looking for emails to get answers, files to get organized, and all these other things. And so I look at it as 40 hours a week is 40 hours a week. If you hire someone part-time for 20 to 25 hours a week, you could hire 2 people instead of 1 for 40. So you get specific to social media and you get specific to the admin, and they're able to help you more with your business. And then as your business grows, you can flex up and down the hours and partner with them. 20 to 25 hours a week designates them to you personally. So they work directly for you without other clients, and you can scale up to 40. Those are the types of conversations that I like to have, because a lot of times the first hire is like, I was that person. Social media, I need help with social media. Well, I do, but I also needed other time to be able to help train and strategize and think about social media. So I would have been better off hiring an executive admin or a project manager at first. And those are the conversations I want to have, because for me, it was a learning experience. But for you guys, you don't have the time to go through that. That's where my strategy comes in, to not just help you there, but what questions could you be asking in the interview process? I'll share my experiences. I'll share all the tools that I personally use with my virtual assistants to make it as seamless as possible. But the other component is, you and Chirag know Compass better than anyone. And there's all of these videos in Compass Academy. The amazing thing about hiring the right talent and asking the right questions, you will find people that actually go out and do the research. So we had an issue with my platform, and I was like, email the help desk and ask them, how do we solve this issue? She went and did the research herself, figured it out, and had it resolved within 20 or 30 minutes. And so that is the type of hire you look for. And because it's custom recruiting, it's not just the person that's assigned to you, it's the person that you actually choose.
So if you think about it, life is just one big math equation that's very much like a budget, right? So if you're able to save 10 hours a week, you should invest some of it back into income producing activities like calls, coffees, lunches, dinners with your clients, which we know drive the most business. And then bank the other half into your life, like go on a date with your spouse, your partner, your boyfriend, your significant other, spend time with your kids and not have to worry about your emails, right? And if you start thinking about this like this incrementally, month by month, your life and business could get better, right? As Robert says, no one succeeds alone. You're gonna burn out. So one of the things you want to tell them the special offer that we created for the.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I have a thing about the specification.
And then just quickly before he does that, I know people have a lot of questions, right? And normally it's like people share their stories and we go. We'll stay after the 30-minute mark and answer any questions that people have.
So I'm going to share three things really quick. Number one, there is no position you cannot hire for. So it doesn't matter whether it is someone to help you with transactions, social media, video editing. I don't care about the title of the position. I care about the help that you actually need. We can structure that into a title. The company that does the recruiting has recruited over 8,500 virtual assistants for about 3,000 clients. So if you do the math, it's about 3 virtual assistants per client on average. I'm already on 3. It's been 12 weeks. That is the amount of support
I want to get to 5.
that they give you. I took my first weekend off, like literally didn't open my laptop in 2 years because I felt so comfortable with them. That happened about 3 weeks ago. That's when I knew there was a fundamental difference. And let me tell you, I really needed the break. And then in terms of customization, I'm just going to hold this up to the screen. You're not going to be able to see it super well. This was something that I directed a virtual assistant to create in the agency model. It was just exactly what I asked them to create. The artistic sort of nature of it was not there. This is just in the first week. This was what they were able to create for me. Specifically about Sunday Scaries. I gave them an idea. I said, here's what I'm thinking of, put it to work. She made one, provided me the template for feedback, gave feedback. She made 20 of them. They were all done within 4 hours scheduled. And I don't have to think about this again until October when we have to come up with a new Sunday post idea.
Now think about how many things you have to do every week and you have these ideas and you get stuck and then you're like, I don't want to do this. Like I've wanted to make like a motivational Monday video for, I don't know, my whole life, right? But like sitting there, I can't record candid clips or whatever. Like you need somebody else to help you, right? Like, and also it's like being aware of how you work with people, right? Like Charlie says it, I like working with other people, right? So sometimes my assistant literally will be sitting on a call with me for an hour just so I do work. And when I have a few questions or I want to bounce something off, and she'll literally be, we're not leaving till this is done. And yes, I know you want me to sit here, and she'll kind of do something else and I'll bring her back. Or some days if I need more support, I'm like, don't do anything else, just pay attention to what we're doing. And yeah.
And to the third point of what Chirag was mentioning.
I have my kid's school calling. You keep going. Sorry.
I'll just slide into camera. You guys can ask any questions you want now that he's gone. So with this, what Chirag and I spoke about is that there's 3 things. One, you guys don't have a lot of time, but in the summer, and it is often that markets slow down unless you're in the Hamptons. So I am acknowledging the Hamptons. There are other markets like that. But that being said, there's 2 aspects of this. One, training the virtual assistant on your business. Only you can do that, right? So designating time to the virtual assistant to be able to train them on what it is that you do. The second piece of this is training them on the Compass tools. So as a special offer, if any of you are either in coaching or join coaching for the webinars that are coming up on the 25th, starting at the summer, typically the virtual assistant would be a team member, which would be an additional $1,900. That is going to be included in the training for 2 reasons. One, they'll be able to have access to all of the tools that you have. They will be able to go on Compass, use Compass Academy, all of those things. But even better, I had my virtual assistant sit in on my Build Your Business training, and they sat in on 2 different sessions, one about marketing, one about sales and sales for coaches. It fundamentally changed what they did for my business because they understood what I was selling, how I was selling it, who I am. They were like, you're more yourself in that training than anywhere else that we've seen you. And so the piece of this that I love is that they can come in and hear how you work with buyers, how you work with sellers, how you prospect, so they can understand how the business is run. And they have real estate experience, and I can get into all of the aspects of like how you'll get additional support once they're hired. But we thought that the advantage of having them be with you in the trainings is fundamentally going to change the way that you work with these virtual assistants, because you are able to have them hear directly from Chirag, and you're in the trainings as well. So you're speaking the same language.
And part of how this came about, many of you know Gretchen Coley. She's the #1 team in Raleigh. They have like an army of people. So she had hired me a few years back, and first thing she told me was, I need you to be here next week. And so we did 2 days of in-person trainings, which she had all of her staff members come. So we did surveys and feedback. What we got out of it is that the staff members never really understood what the actual business is, right? So in being able to sit through and hear what the entire transaction was, what the coaching philosophy was, what they're trying to align on, like Sharon, Wendy, they can all share with you like how much we emphasize like a luxury client experience, what that mindset is, and all these different, essentially thought processes and execution styles and templates. After, like, if you give these things time, right? Like all great things in life take time to develop. After sitting through a buyer track one time, a seller track another time, a prospecting track another time, they're going to understand what you need to accomplish in your business and have heard it from somebody else and have access to that mindset. Where if they don't do that, you're the trainer, right? How are they going to learn a transaction? How are they going to learn these little things? How are they even going to know what Compass One is? Most of the people at Compass don't even know what Compass One is and how it works, right? So listen, if that's the path you want to go through, this summer I find is a very pivotal moment in people's careers. Like this has been raise your hand or hit yes in the box if this has been a crazy year for you. Like there's a lot going on, right? And so what I'm suggesting people do who normally check out in the summer, you're spending your time somewhere. I would call bullshit on anyone that says that they're not probably spending a minimum of 1 hour a day on a social media platform. Like that's very hard to believe, right? If you have an hour for a social media platform that does absolutely nothing for you, how do you not have an hour for yourself, right? So we're telling people spend 1 hour a week in training, and it's like 30 minutes in a training class, 30 minutes practicing or implementing what you learn. Have your VA, if you choose to get one, go through the program. Because a great summer builds fall momentum, great fall builds great fourth quarters, and that fourth quarter starts 2026, right? So for all of us that check out, you're going to miss the Compass One integration. You're going to miss our AI course. You're going to miss the stuff with the VAs, and you're going to be scrambling after having 2 months of like stagnant activity, going back into the fall kind of unsure, out of whack, and that carries into the fourth quarter, right? So like my dream and wish is that we're able to own our time where it's an hour a week. We're not asking you to do anything complicated or anything. Like give yourself the gift of an hour, right? So look, I can tell you that this has changed my life in terms of the way that I think about my business, the way that I think about hiring, the way that I think about choosing team members, both domestically and internationally. And, I'm aggressive in anything I do. I want 5 of these people in 90 days, and it's his problem to figure it all out, right? So I can literally just sit here and, he'll get me to agree that, all right, we'll try this one for 30 days and we'll have the next conversation, right? Good coach here. And then at the end of 30 days, I'm going to brain dump him a whole bunch of different things. And my lists generally are more than less. And then he's going to say, okay, this is the next person. He'll make the job description. We'll put it together. We'll align on it. And then you go to the company. So look, companies make money in only one of 2 ways. And the original way is margin, right? Like they employ them for a couple dollars an hour. They sell them for you for more, and that's it. Well, this company that he partners with, he white labels your service, right? So if you go to the company directly, you're not getting Charlie. You don't have to pay any more money for getting Charlie. I believe if I use Charlie and have a lot of information on hiring and scaling businesses, I help people do this every day. I think everyone else could benefit from the same thing I am. So the initial membership, if you want to hire 1, it's $600 a month. If you want to hire 2, it's If you want to hire up to 5, it's 900. So if you hired somebody for 25 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month, that's $500 plus the membership, that's $1,100 a month, and that's a good starting point, right? Or if you know you're like me and you're aggressive, you're just going to go to the tier 2 membership and you're going to start there, right? Like we have an events business. So we have one person we hired for events business, one person we've hired here. There's 3 more that I ideally want. So just think about it. You can pay in full and get a discount, but ultimately, if you don't do this today, my suggestion is this: save 10% of every closing till you can afford the first 4 to 6 months of a virtual assistant. So when you hire them, you're not under this run or gun pressure that I have to do a deal, I have to do a deal, I have to do a deal so I can pay these people. So let's open it up to Q&A.
I'm just gonna have one quick thing to what Chirag said. So a lot of times these agencies will range $10 to $15 an hour. Even if you hired one person and paid them $4 to $6 per hour, plus the cost of the recruitment fee, it still actually averages out to $10 an hour, but this person's working directly for you and you're able to build that long-term relationship. A lot of times I will recommend to people to hire 2 separate. It's typically personal assistant, executive admin, transaction coordinator, social media manager, some version of the 3. If you hire 2 people, $25 an hour, it's about $3 more an hour. So you're looking at about 7 to 8. The idea is that as you scale the business and as you differentiate, you're getting the time back. Even if you hired 2 people, $25 an hour plus the recruiting fee, over the course of the year, typically you're going to see like for me, I have now gotten back at least 10 to 15 hours a day because I'm not sitting there cutting up a 60-minute episode into 30 social media clips. That's the level at which you can get your time back. But this is all customized. When I worked for Compass and did recruiting, I don't know if anyone's on the call has met me before, everything was custom to you. Compass had 100 different tools that you could use. Not everyone was going to make a difference to you. So I know one of the questions was more information. I personally want to have a call with everyone, understand where you are today, where you want to go, and what support you're looking for to create that job description, give you that guidance, help strategize with you. What you choose to do with the information, free of charge. You can go hire a virtual assistant on Fiverr. You can go to an agency. You can go to a recruiting company. You can work with us. I'm not looking for you to make the decision today. I just want to help you figure out what is the strategically right way to hire. And if I can help after that, I'd love to. And if it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. But the strategy session is free of charge.
Look, let's see what questions people have, right? You guys are all still here, so someone's thinking something. So you can unmute yourself and just ask. I see Javanka reaching for her button.
Better the button than a blinker.
Yeah, under the button and the blinker. There you go. No. Yep, there you go. And Molly, you're up next.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. My laptop is, I don't know. The recruiting fee of $600 a month, that's a monthly fee, right?
Yep. So the recruitment is set up for throughout the course of the year. You can either pay it up front or you can pay it monthly. There is a discount for paying it up front. With the launch package, which is $600 a month, you have access to trainings, both on the client side, which would be you, and the virtual assistant side. So they do marketing trainings, executive admin trainings, all the trainings in the world you could possibly think of on a weekly basis. If you were to go with the accelerator, which is 2 to 5, so if you're looking to hire 2 more customized positions or you want the extra training, you'd have a personal customer service manager. Your virtual assistant would have a one-on-one mentor. You'd have access to all the trainings, and there's some other things as well, but high level, that's the fundamental difference.
You know what's interesting too? So we got an email, right? And I don't deal directly with any of the virtual assistants or the meetings or anything else, because my whole goal is not to be in more meetings, right? So I get this email, and this is for like our content side. It was like a meeting. We want to check in how things are going, what could be improved, like what kind of training or support do they need? And I'm looking at these meetings, they're constantly looking for ways to measure and improve what they're doing. So it's pretty cool. It's like with most recruiters, you hire somebody, you pay them once, they leave, and that's it. but there's like a real effort, and you could tell it's a real value of the company to make sure that the experience is good for you and that they continue supporting you and that they could help have your virtual assistant set up for long-term success. So Molly, you had a question. Molly with the
You
purple eye. There
mentioned, sorry, I could turn my,
Oh, you unmuted yourself.
sorry. You mentioned something about June 25th, and some training starting or something like that. What was that?
So we every quarter we open up our coaching program once a quarter. So it's important to us that when new people come in, that they all come in together, and it's not like a revolving door of stuff where people get confused. What was the last training? So we do 2 webinars. They're value add. So they're both going to be on Compass One plus AI, right? AI is a big focus of ours as a company. Because that in itself could give you 10 hours a week back. So we'll share with you how to build a buyer system in Compass One and leverage AI, and the same thing for sellers. And it's kind of just a way to get an idea of our training, our philosophy, how our company works, and to see if it's a good fit for you. So we'll be start sending those emails out on Monday.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? I love the group of people that just want to hear what everyone else has to say. I appreciate you all.
Throw in a
I'll add-
question.
I'll ask one more question. The idea of hiring a VA is very tempting to me for the social media management side of things. I came in a couple minutes late, so I missed the name of not Shirag, but the other guy that's talking. Sorry.
Charlotte.
Okay, thank you. And it resonated with me when I have no problem being in front of the camera. It's spending the time clipping everything. And, I have so many ideas in my head of things that I want to do, but I just don't have the time to put them all together. So I love the idea of doing that. The way you guys are speaking, though, it makes it sound like you need to hire somebody, part-time in order to just initially, and I don't know if I have enough work for somebody at that level. Is it
Yeah.
worth exploring that even at 10 hours a week?
So a couple different things. Number one, when I say I record with them, I literally get on camera and record all my videos with them. I have a whole system set up in Monday, so they automatically upload. They go in. You can get a social media manager who can edit those videos. You can also have them post, create captions, hashtags, do research into other agents. Do turds instead, because this doesn't really have anything. Do all of those things. But depending on what you're looking for, we could create a job description if there's other things within your business that you need support with. That could be something that you start them with. So I wouldn't necessarily have them do contracts or transaction coordination for like the social media expert, but they could help with creating email templates. They could create the graphics. They can add, like, my virtual assistants come with a list of questions of things that they've seen on my podcast, things that they've heard me talk about. And they literally ask me the questions. They do the research. I just show up and I say, let's go. And we start recording videos. And so I think when you start to think of it in the way of like investing the time, this isn't about just hiring someone to take something off your plate. You need a strategic partner that knows social media, that's going to invest the time in researching other agents that are in your area, researching the things that you like. So I always say as an agent, like, at the end of the day, 2 agents, same brokerage, you can all go into the same listing presentation. It's the person who builds that connection. That's going to be the agent that wins. And whether it is a bond over, for me, I love fostering dogs. That would be probably something that I would feature as an agent in the local community because it's where I'm engaged. If that is the case for you, your social media expert can look at and do the research for how can you get more involved, all of these other things. And I think from that perspective, it's just a light example. But the other thing is that no one's ever going to do it as fast as you're going to do it. And so when I first started, I was like, wow, this is taking longer than it took me. Well, I've been doing it for a year, right? I know my own content. I know my voice. I know the things that I want. So over the course of 12 weeks, it's gotten faster and faster and faster. But it does take time in the beginning to build up those skills for them to know what you're looking for, feedback back and forth. And it's worth investing the time because it is that long-term partnership. You're not just looking for someone to make 10 videos for you and move on.
All right, we have another question.
Yeah, email management, absolutely. So for different roles, when we send out the email following this, I can send out top 50 tasks. So if you name a task, they can help you. Email organization, creating responses, scheduling appointments. They can literally schedule reservations for client lunches, send client gifts. They can do, if you wanted it on the personal assistant side, they could create Instacart orders for you. They could schedule doctor's appointments. If you wanted social media, they can do research. They can literally, you and I will sit down and I want to hear everything that you do in your daily life that is a repetitive task, because that can be transferred to a virtual assistant. And then they're going to bring strategy.
He's
to
like
it.
a magician.
I want you to tell me all the things that you're not good at that you're trying to do. I want you to tell me all the things that you're not even doing because you don't want to attempt it. And then the final one is just your wish list. That, if throughout a conversation, I will be able to help craft a job description for you that includes all of those things customized to your business. So while this role may be mostly social media, maybe we hire you someone that also has the video editing experience, because it doesn't sound like you're looking for advanced social media posting, but more like scheduling, get everything ready, using the right captions, sort of that basic level, and also some video editing. So that would be the custom job description that they would go out and recruit for you. Candidly, like I have talked to people who are hiring personal assistants. I have bookkeepers, transaction coordinators, personal assistants, executive assistants, project managers, like you name it, you can name any role you want. It's not about the role, it's about what support you need. And we will craft that into a job description. What you call it doesn't really matter, but what they're going to help you with, that's what actually matters.
Charlie will have the Calendly. I put his email there. So if you have some patience, use the Calendly. It'll be much easier. Someone asked, and I'll answer this, Charlie, what's the difference between Composite and this program? Composite, the virtual assistants have some basics on the Compass platform that they do have. But again, they work for Composite, right? So the experiences I shared with people that had really good VAs that changed, that's because they were at Composite, right? They did a really good job. They got hired. People have had great results with them. I talked to the person that I didn't feel was a good fit for our community, right? Because the nature of getting comfortable with an employee and turning over is a nightmare for any person, right? So in the middle of your business, when everything's going well, if you have to start from zero with a person that knows absolutely nothing about you, it's a disaster, right? So, I would say the big difference is these people work for you directly. They keep all of the money, which means that they're better compensated. They also have a better background, knowledge, skill, and experience. And if any of you guys trust me, that out of all the places I can go, and we've had some of these other companies literally offer us free VAs, we chose this one because it's the only place I really had confidence in, right? And the real reason I have confidence is because of him, right? I'm not going to put all these things together on my own, or I would have done it 3 years ago, right? It just wasn't happening. So, I believe, hold on, you just muted us. Can you all still hear me? I believe everything happens for a reason, right? I saw that post randomly. We connected on the phone. He randomly happened to be one town over, right? I'm in Westport, Connecticut. It's not like people just show up here, especially from sunny Florida. So look, we wanted to share this resource with all of you, as I know everyone wants more time back in their day. There's not a person I have not heard asked to hire a virtual assistant in the 7 years I've done coaching. So we thought that this would be a good opportunity for everybody. So if anyone has questions, let us know. He put a link to his strategy session so you could book it.
I messed it up.
Oh,
I got
messed it
nervous
up.
when Shrug said the thing about I muted everyone. Hold on, I'm retyping it. I spelled my own name wrong.
See, Charlie doesn't trust his spelling either.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm the worst.
Me too. Well, it's the nice part about real estate. You don't need to spell. I tell that to people all the time. And so, look, I hope everyone found value. We appreciate the 50 plus of you who stayed, almost an hour into this. And look, I hope all of you have an incredible weekend. If you're here in the Northeast, the weather's finally beautiful. Take some time, just even if it's like an hour in your day, and please get rid of your freaking phone and just go do something with yourself, your family, anything else but your cell phone, right? Like just connect. right? And this will also allow you time to think and reset. So on that note, a quick tidbit next week on Coaching Lab, you know who our coaching client is going to be, or the coaching person? It's going to be ChatGPT. So I'm going to show everyone how to actually use it, understand it, the basics, the fundamentals, live demos. So it will be a cool session. It'll be something very different. And so happy Father's Day to all the dads. Thank you. And with love in my heart, I love you all. Thank you, Charlie.
It was such a pleasure. I'm looking forward to connecting.
Bye, everybody.